Hey Student Success, this is your video for week 4 of the semester, which means after this week, we are halfway done with this session already. This week runs from April 12th through the 18th, and it actually covers 3 chapters. So I scroll down, this is my normal plug, your Student Success workshop assignment. I'm going to pull that document up real quickly. By the time that you watch this video, you're going to be around here on the document. If you have not signed up for your workshop yet, you can see that there's still a few left from different offices on campus, from Career Services, the Digital Library, Student Life and Recreation. So you want to make sure, Disability Support Services, so you want to make sure that you really are signing up for a workshop that is going to be of interest to you so that it's worth your time, not just for a grade, but it's, you're getting something out of it as well. All right, so if we scroll down, we're going to get into week 4. Again, this is covering several different chapters. You can see it's going to be looking at 5, 7, and 8. So I'm going to kind of go over each of those in a few minutes. You have 3 assignments. You do have a discussion post this week that is due by Wednesday the 14th for your week 4 attendance, and then you have Chapter 5 assignment and online learning assignment. So if we go into the materials folder, you can see that there are links to different chapters and slideshows for each of those sections. So I'm going to first take a look, and I apologize, I have them all pulled up here, so I've got to kind of scroll through here. All right, Chapter 5, Reading to Learn. So this is kind of my area. I'm a developmental reading teacher, so I try to rein it in here, but I could talk about this for a long time. So just big takeaways is that you have to approach your college reading differently than perhaps you did your high school reading. You have to really take personal responsibility. The College Reading Learning Association did a study and found that approximately 85% of what we learn as a college student is done through what we read. So while we're sitting in lectures or doing labs, that's a good chunk of our grade often, but we're reading constantly. And so that we really have to make sure that when we read, we are taking in the information and doing the best with it to be able to comprehend and apply. So the kind of a rule of thumb, expect to spend about 2 or more hours on homework for every hour you spend in class. Now, obviously, for some classes, that's going to be true. For others, it might be less or it might be more. So you have to really kind of feel that out. And again, this kind of reiterates what I just said. It's a primary means for the learning cycle, making sure that you're getting that information in. So reading is a process, just like writing is a process. You're not going to want to sit down and write a draft and one time through, like, oh, this is perfect, and turn it in. No, we know writing is a process. We have to brainstorm and write and rewrite and edit. Same thing with reading. Reading is a process. There are things you should do before, during, and after reading to make sure you're understanding the content. So what do you do before you read? Well, you preview. You look to see, what is my purpose for reading? I'm going to kind of look and see how the chapter or the article or whatever it might be is set up. Are there bold words? Are there tables? Are there pictures, captions? What kind of organizational structure is there? Subheadings, and just get a feel for what it is that you're going to be reading. And then again, you're asking yourself, why am I reading this? What am I supposed to be learning from this? At the end, what should the outcome be? Should I know vocabulary? Should I be able to summarize? Set those goals for yourself. So spend time preparing to read because you're warming up your proverbial mind muscles, getting ready to take that information in. Then while you're actually reading, use the headings as kind of your roadmap and look to see, how are you going to approach the reading? Make connections to what you already know about the topic to what you are going to possibly learn. And then what I would say is chunk the text. You want to chunk up sections. You don't want to read an entire article in one sitting. You want to be able to kind of, for attention purposes, but also comprehension purposes, try to make sure that you're reading little sections at a time. That way you're not overwhelming yourself. Also, whenever you are reading those little sections, it's a good idea to not take notes, highlight, underline, or annotate while you read. Because if you've ever highlighted while you're reading and you kind of take a step back and you're like, oh my gosh, I've highlighted the entire page. It's because while we read, we think everything's important. So you want to make sure that you read and then go back and revisit. Let's say you chunked something into like 2 pages. read those 2 pages, and then go back and highlight or take notes on or underline the most important points so that you are having that perspective of like, what was actually the most important piece here? So here's some other tips while you're reading, skim over sections. Can you answer questions after you read each section? What didn't you understand that maybe you need to go back and reread? Do you need to look up keywords? So those are all things that you should do. Capturing key ideas or the main ideas, again, kind of looking to see, what is the point while you read. Did you pose some questions before you read? Are you able to answer those questions after you're done reading? Are you able to define keywords? So those are strategies to capture. And then when you're done, you don't just want to walk away and be like, all right, I'm good. No, you want to make sure you actually take time to think, okay, did I understand this? And this is also why you want to chunk your reading. If you have a 20-page article and you just read all the way through and you get to page 20 and you're like, I've been lost since page 1. Well, you just wasted time because you have to go back and reread. However, if you are able to chunk your reading and just read, 2 or 3 pages at a time, if you realize you're lost on page 3, you can fix it pretty quickly. And so you want to make sure that you are revisiting and checking your understanding. Again, connect it to your class, answer review questions, talk to other people if need be, merge your notes. So all of those are things that you can do to help with your review process of the reading. So in your actual text, let me get here. So your textbook will kind of go over what I just talked about. Reading to learn. So this will go over, how should you approach reading, dealing with special types of texts, meaning what about if you have like a math text, if you have different graphics in your textbooks, how can you approach these? Because you do want to approach different text differently based on the content area because they are set up in a very different format. So there's a whole section talking about that. Vocabulary is also a big part of the reading process. So making sure that you know how to build vocabulary, how to incorporate that vocabulary into your language, so to speak. I always like to keep a vocabulary journal whenever I'm learning like a new degree program or a new course. That way I can come back to it. We want to make inferences on what it means. We want to look upwards, use context clues. So there's a whole section about how to build that vocabulary. So I really do encourage you to look at this part. I know sometimes in the past I've said focus on what you think is most relevant. Reading, I think, is going to apply to everyone. You're going to read no matter what field you're in. So I will recommend really paying attention to that section. All right, our next part is Chapter 7. So Chapter 7 is talking about just interacting and being engaged. So you want to make sure that you, again, treat high school differently than college, or even if you're coming back to school, you want to treat it differently. So you want to look to see, how can you take on this responsibility and be, learning and now that you're on your own, so to speak, as a college student. So this is going to go over, why do you attend class? Well, hopefully that's obvious, but, you do want to go and get your participation points, your attendance points, but also you don't know what you're missing if you're not in class. Yes, you have the syllabus, but you could be missing some good discussions, some good questions. So you want to make sure that you are attending class, not to mention you pay for your college. If you're a typical college student, not a CCP student, you're paying. So you want to get your money's worth for that. So if you miss the class, these are kind of common sense type things, but, touch base, let your instructor know why, what can you make up, maybe check in with someone else to see if there's any notes. So anything like that you can do to make sure that you're staying up with your classwork. Participating in class looks different for everyone. I know that when students participate in class, some of them are very vocal, and that means they're going to ask and answer questions. Others are going to email me or make good eye contact or just nod their head. So participation looks different for everyone, and good instructors know that. So you want to make sure you know, how do you participate in class? So your body language does communicate information, your eyes communicate, and then making sure that you're just paying attention and to the lecture and to the teaching style, and Ask questions, whether it's in class, after class, email, something, so that you are showing that you are engaged and you care. So this kind of leads right into asking questions. Make sure that you do ask the questions. Again, whether it's in class, after class, or an email, the only bad question is the question that's not asked, because you want to make sure that you're, again, getting your money's worth, making your time investment worth it. So really do ask questions. And I will tell you, I'd much rather a student ask me a question that maybe I think the answer was obvious, or maybe I already went over it a couple minutes ago. I'd much rather them still ask the question to make sure they know what they're doing than them not ask at all. Okay, communicating with instructors, you want to make sure that you are respectful, whether in their office hours, through email. These are just some kind of tips on communicating with instructors. Overcoming anxiety. Anxiety is normal. It usually means you care about something, but you still have to kind of rein it in, because too much anxiety can be a negative thing for your mental health, for your even physical health. So the best way to kind of overcome anxiety, I always say, is to be prepared and to practice. And then guidelines for presentations. This talks a little bit about if you have to present, again, it goes back to organizing, planning, practicing, preparing. So it's a real general overview there. So Chapter 7 in your textbook goes over interacting with instructors and classes. So it kind of hits on the things I just got done talking about. So you can see, like, why do we attend class? What is participating? So it really does. A lot of students really go to this section, the public speaking and class presentations, because it's the one that a lot of people struggle the most with. And so I think this section is really helpful. If you're going to have to make some presentations, look at this. There's some really great information in here. How do you go about preparing and practicing for a presentation, whether it's just an oral speech or maybe you're using graphic visuals, whatever the case might be. All right, and then the last chapter is Chapter 8, Writing for Classes. So I'm just going to pull up, there's no PowerPoint for this. So Chapter 8, Writing for Classes. So again, it starts off with talking about, what is different about college writing versus high school writing. And we know that college writing is different, and it is also a process. So you want to make sure like you're not going to have the perfect paper right off the bat. How can you become a better writer? This is a great section to look at. So this is going to talk about, how do you make sure you're meeting the requirements and expectations? You're going to be looking at seeing how is the writing viewed as a process, and what can you do to make the process effective? And look, there's tons of notes there. Revising and editing. Revising is kind of like that big picture stuff, and editing is looking at the little nitty gritties. So it's going to talk about the differences. Revising is like organizational changes, thesis, support, whereas editing is like spelling, grammar. Where do you go if you need help for writing? Glad you asked. On your Starks 8 homepage, we have under, go up here, info for current students. We do have a writing center on campus. And when I say on campus, that means on main campus, on Akron campus, on downtown Canton campus. It also means online. So lots of ways to access this writing center. So here it is. There's a little blurb about the writing center, where they're located. Here's the online writing center. So you could click there and you can make an appointment. The Writing Center helps with any part of the writing process. You can sign up for a 30-minute or a 1-hour appointment. Online is usually an hour, so you have enough time to kind of go back and forth. And they really do go over everything. The only thing they ask is that you have the assignment, so you know what you're supposed to be focusing on, and just bring your materials with you or have them prepared. But we do have a writing center on campus, and they are extremely helpful. So also, it's going to talk about other kinds of writings. You can see like essays, projects, online courses. So this section is really key. I encourage you to look at this section if you are taking any kind of writing class, which most of you will have to at some point. Okay, so that's our materials folder. Let's go ahead and talk about the assignments you are working on this week. So let's click into here. Chapter 8, Discussion Forum. So this should be familiar now. You've done a couple of these that look like this. This is based on Chapter 8. So the writing chapter, you are seeing 4 topics. You are responding to all 4 topics. Make sure that you respond to each of the 2 prompts inside each of the topics. So let's say you're talking about past writing. What is your worst writing habits and how can you overcome it? Then address the sentence level mechanics, the writing process, and seeking help. So you are responding to all 4 topics and 2 statements in each topic. Original response by Wednesday, and responded to classmates by Sunday for the full attendance points. All right, second assignment is your Chapter 5 assignment. So you're going to open this. This is a Word document. It's going to open up into this table. And this is going to be on Chapter 5, which talked about the reading section. And so you would have already seen something like this previous weeks as well. So hopefully this is familiar. It's going to have the 3 areas of reading here, and you're going to come up with 2 actions. What do I need to do to improve my reading comprehension? 2 things. What do I need to do to improve my reading speed? And what do I need to do to improve my vocabulary? When am I going to take those actions, and how will I know I accomplished? How am I going to measure my reading comprehension? How am I going to measure my reading speed? How am I going to measure my vocabulary? So you can look in our PowerPoint or the chapter link to see, okay, what did the chapter say? Things I can do to improve each of these areas. So 2 things you can do to improve each of those 3 areas, when you're going to do it, and how you know you've made that improvement. The last assignment is the Online Learning Right for You assignment. You're going to take this short survey. It's hyperlinked. You'll click there, and it's going to open up to this page right here, and it's a web learning survey. Are you ready for online learning? I think this should probably be a week 1 assignment, but it's plugged in here into week 4. So you're going to take this quick survey. It's not terribly long. It's multiple choice. You're going to hit submit. It's going to give you some results. Now, I can't see that survey. You're going to tell me your results. It's going to say, take the survey. After you take the survey, submit your feedback under write submission and comment whether you believe online learning is right for you and why. So you'll click right in here. You'll tell me under write submission. My score was a 24. I think this is accurate because, or my score was a 15. I don't think this was accurate because. So what was your score, and do you think online learning is right for you and why? So again, I cannot see your actual survey. You have to tell me your results. All right, real quick recap. We are in Chapter 5, 7, and 8 this week. You are completing the following 3 assignments. Chapter 8 discussion, where you are responding to both statements in all 4 topics by Wednesday the 14th for week 4 attendance. Responded to classmates by Sunday. Your Chapter 5 assignment, which goes over the 3 areas of the reading kind of process and how you can make improvements and how you know you'll make improvements in those areas, and the online learning survey, and respond to, do you agree or disagree with your score? All right, hope everyone has a great week.